Hey everyone, Ashleen here from Amelia Makes, and today I'm really excited to show you 10 crochet techniques that you probably haven't heard of and that are really beautiful and unique, and they can be added to any new pattern that you design, or it can even be added to an existing pattern that you probably already have. So without further ado, let's get started. Number one is the puff stitch. Now, if you're familiar with the jasmine stitch, which is actually a lot of puff stitches worked in certain combinations, but you probably have not just used the puff stitch in itself. And this tutorial is actually going to be showing you, that I'm going to be linking below, will be showing you how to do the puff stitch in a line, in a straight line. And you'll also be able to see how beautifully designed it is and how it can be incorporated into many different projects that you have as well. So to show you one example of how the puff stitch is being used, you can see this beautiful example right here that uses a combination of a puff stitch and a different stitch to it as well. You can see that this stitch really complements other stitches, and it's not really meant to be a leading stitch. It's more meant to be something as an add-on, and it really kind of brings out a whole different look and feel to the project that you have. Now, when you look at these puffs at a glance, it may look relatively simple to do, right? But actually there are a few steps that are pretty specific when it comes to ending the puff stitches. So I do have a link to the tutorial below, so make sure to check that out, and we actually go through it step by step with you. Okay, up next is the spider stitch. Now, the spider stitch might look complicated at a glance as well, but actually it only uses two simple stitches, which is the chain and single crochet stitch. The result of that gives it this knit look and squishy texture to it, which is actually a really good stitch to make during winter time. And to give you an example of how the spider stitch has been used in one of our patterns, you can see here the adorable spider stitch sweater that we have for both adults and kids. And I actually do have a video tutorial on how we did the spider stitch for the kids sweater in the link below, so make sure to check that out as well. Okay, now moving on to number 3, which is one of our most popular techniques, which is how to create and crochet ruffles. Now, I absolutely love ruffles, especially when it comes to making a garment for children. Adding ruffles to it is just that much cuter. And it's also really amazing how different types of yarn and the different sizes of hooks really changes the way the ruffle looks as well. So that's a really interesting concept that we did, and we do have a video tutorial on how to make ruffles in the link below that I have. And this stitch can literally be added to any project, whether it's an old project that you want to revive and change the whole look for, or it can be also added to a new project that you have. Okay, next up is crocheting really tall stitches. Now, this is not a really common stitch. It's actually one that comes after the triple crochet stitch. And you may be asking, okay, why is it important to crochet tall stitches then? Well, there are many advanced projects and patterns that do require you to know how to crochet tall stitches. So that's why it's actually important to know, because there's so many beautiful patterns that come out of it. And I can actually show you a few examples in a minute as well. Here's one example actually of how to crochet really tall stitches and how it's been applied to one of our patterns that we have, which is a dogwood flower. And it really kind of creates a much bigger petal on the flower itself. And that's just one of many examples of how it can be applied. Okay, now moving on to number 8, which is the griddle stitch. Now, I would consider the griddle stitch to be an all-purpose stitch, and it uses the simple repeats, which is very easy to memorize. So if you're a beginner, I would not be intimidated with the griddle stitch, and we do have a full video tutorial on how to make it as well. So what can it be used for? The griddle stitch is actually really good for blankets. It's really good for clothing items because it has that thick, comfortable texture, and it also keeps you warm. So I would consider making the griddle stitch, especially during the winter season. If you want to start practicing the griddle stitch now, we do have a free crochet pattern, which is the coaster set. Okay, now moving on to the box beaded stitch. If you're looking for a stitch that has a lot of texture to it, you can add a lot of different colors, it's really thick, then this box beaded stitch is really good choice. And it's actually very commonly used for blankets, especially when it comes to kids blankets. Adorable box beaded stitch that you can see over here. I do have a video tutorial on how to practice and crochet the stitch, so I would recommend checking that out. And then there are some really exciting patterns that you can start getting into and start crocheting. And I would definitely recommend starting off with a blanket. Obviously, if you're a beginner, this might be a bit challenging, but if you're someone that has been crocheting for a few years now, then I would think about crocheting a blanket with the stitch. Okay, last but not least is the waistcoat stitch, which is also known as the knit stitch because it gives it that very chain-like look to it. And what's interesting about the stitch, it's actually a modified single crochet stitch. And look how that changes the entire look of it, which is really fascinating. And this is what's really exciting about crocheting. What's also good about the stitch is that it doesn't stretch like the single crochet stitch does. And this makes it very sturdy and really good for crocheting baskets. So you should consider doing that with this particular stitch. And you can see here is an adorable headband for winter that uses the waistcoat stitch. Well, that's all I have for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative and valuable, and you've got some great insights into these specific stitches and techniques that you can apply today to any patterns or project that you have. And most of them, we do have video tutorials on it. And if we don't have a specific video tutorial, then we do have the written directions and a step-by-step photo guide as well. That is in our blog, so make sure to check that out. Thanks again for watching, and just be sure to subscribe to our channel so you can stay up to date with all new videos that we have going on. We have one coming out at least once a week. Thank you.